I want to talk to you today about environmental ethics, specifically Aldo Leopold and his biotic pyramid. Aldo Leopold has a much different look on environmental ethics. What he's going to do is describe to us what he calls a biotic pyramid, a relationship of all living and non-living things to one another, how we form relationships with one another, how interdependent these relationships are, and how dependent we, including human beings, have become on the stability of what he calls the biotic pyramid. Now, the biotic pyramid will work with Earth, and that's what we're going to talk about today. It's similar to what we would talk about for water, and it's similar to what we would talk about as air, but we're land dwellers, so we're going to talk about the Earth right now. What he says is the biotic pyramid starts with very low format. We have the soil down here, and then perhaps on top it we have an incredible number of plants that can no longer be numbered. In the Amazonian basin, every day we're discovering hundreds of new species that we didn't know existed before. It's a very rich and fertile environment. Next up above that, in a few lesser numbers, are perhaps insects. Above them, rodents. Maybe above them we have raccoons. And then above them he puts people right here in the middle, not because we can't dominate the entire environment, but because we're not only vegetable and fruit eaters, but we're also meat eaters as well. Finally, when you reach the very top of the pyramid, you have the large carnivores. There are fewer of them, obviously, and there's almost an innumerable number down here on the base. So the base of the pyramid is squat, short, with an incredible number. As we move up the pyramid, the numbers reduce, and they go from being both vegetable fruit eaters to and meat eaters up to just carnivores or meat eaters. Now, he tells us that this pyramid is in a symbiotic relationship. Symbiosis means that we're in a relationship where everybody seems to get something out of it, not necessarily equal. You'll see sharks swimming around on some of the videos, and these little fish are attached to them. You see the same thing with whales. What these little fish are doing are eating the carbuncles, or they're eating the debris that gets left on these fish. They're cleaning them in essence. They're cleaning them for free. They're getting a food out of it. And the whales and the sharks in this instance are getting a cleaning. And they need that. They need to be free of all these elements. We see that when you see perhaps videos in Africa, you see elephants with these white birds on them, and they're constantly pecking at their flesh. What they're doing is eating all the bugs off of them. So there's a symbiotic relationship that occurs for everything that lives within the biotic pyramid. If I was able to take a person and they were to die instantly and instantly disappear, there'd be a bit of a shadow that would slowly sink to the ground. There's about 27 microbes that live in us, without which we would not be able to survive. In our intestines, we have a microbe that lives, and every time we put food and it gets to our intestines, this microbe emits an enzyme which allows us to literally digest our food. And without that, we would have a much more difficult time digesting our food. If you watch some of the Animal Planet videos or Big Cat Diaries, you'll see animals that drink water that to human beings would be intolerable. We would get sick and dehydrated and die. They have microbes in them that are in a symbiotic relationship that allow for them to be able to drink water that for us would be deadly. There are places in different parts of the world. When I was 18, I was in Thailand. I would eat the fruit there, and I got terribly sick. I developed what was called dysentery. My system was not used to the microbes that lived in that area of the world. The people who lived there, those systems were adjusted to the symbiotic relationship of those microbes, and they ate the fruit all the time. The fruit literally almost killed me. So this symbiosis is necessary. It's almost always positive. Periodically it's negative, but almost all the time it's positive, and it's necessary for the stability of the biotic pyramid. Also notice that there are predators and there are preys. If you're at the lowest level, like plants, you're a prey for every predator that's above you, for all the insects that are above you. However, insects who are predators to plants also become prey to the rodents that are above them. Rodents who are predators to insects become prey to the animals that are above them, and this goes all the way up the pyramid until you get to the large carnivores, excluding people, since we can literally annihilate everything and anything around us that we so desire to do. Now, what the pyramid does is it establishes food chains, energy exchanges, so that everything within the pyramid is invested in survival. The survival of the entire environment, according to Aldo Leopold, depends on the stability of these food chains and the symbiotic relationships between predators and prey. Now, periodically, nature will disturb the pyramid, violent volcano, maybe on a cosmic sense, a killer asteroid, but eventually he notices that the pyramid rebuilds itself. It may take a long period of time. After life regenerates itself after killer asteroid, we go back and we look at the biotic pyramid, and sure enough, it's reconstructing itself, starting at the bottom with large numbers, in this case again plants, and then insects, and then rodents, and then larger animals. And the pyramid stability is not reinvented but restated. And this is just genius on Aldo Leopold's part. Important that you understand this in terms of environmental ethics, our interrelation to it as human beings. For many years, we have viewed ourselves, perhaps the history of mankind, we viewed ourselves as conquerors of the environment. Leopold says that if we create too much destruction within the pyramid and it collapses, we might find ourselves with a very limited, if not disappearing, and non-existent food source.